Are you someone who really wants to heal, but you don't know how or where to start? In this video, we're going to talk about some of the shadow thoughts and behaviors and where they like to hide. We're going to go over one of the most key foundations of healing, and we're going to talk about how to release the layers when that healing begins to start and what that looks like as you continue through your journey. So if all that sounds great and you are ready to do this shadow work, check out the rest of this video and I will see you there. What exactly are the shadow aspects that we talk about that are hiding inside of our psyches and bodies? So some of the examples of the shadow aspects are anger, rage, resentment, selfishness, pettiness, bitterness, unforgiveness, control, scarcity mindset, lacking mindset, trying to dominate others, irritability. So these are all shadow aspects, shadow behaviors. And the secret to this is that where do they like to hide? They like to hide in unprocessed grief. Not only just unprocessed grief, but unprocessed emotions in general create shadow parts of us. They are denied and suppressed and pushed down, but the energy is energy in motion. So this energy doesn't dissolve, it doesn't die. Energy doesn't ever leave, it just transforms. So when it's not transformed into something else out of the body, it gets stuck and it hides in different places, whether that be in the physical body, whether that be in the psyche, whether that be in various different places. In one sense, when we look at the shadows, we see this angry part that comes out, right? We see this hard part of people and ourselves that come out. But what is really beneath it? What? Oftentimes, what is truly beneath these behaviors is a deep sadness or a sense of loss. And so that's why the grieving is the foundation to healing, because it helps us to release and transform that energy so that it doesn't get stuck in our bodies, it doesn't get stuck in our psyches, and we can move forward clear and joyful. So that is why grieving is the foundation stone to healing, because it's so important that we transfer this energy that's being stuck and denied and repressed and not felt or not looked at, not seen. We've got to transform it. It has to leave the body in the form of tears and be released, because if we don't release it in that way, it comes out in all kinds of different funky ways. The list can go on and on for how many different funny ways grief, loss, sadness, and disappointment can come out and wreak havoc in our lives. Unfortunately, the world has taught us that it's not okay to express emotions, especially if you're a male. It is not okay to cry. It is not okay to release. And this is why we see so many more high instances of anger issues and suicide and abuse of substances in the male population. This is why there are so many areas of that men's lives that are challenging and aren't having a functional way of being. And a lot of it roots from not processing deep grief or sadness. And it's not only for men, women as well are taught that it's not okay to express emotions. We can't just cry in the middle of work. We can't go in looking a certain way. Sometimes it's not appropriate to express sadness and grief and tears at a certain time or in front of children. There's so many ways that we little by little suppress more and more of these emotions, and then we just never come back to them and they never get released. But the body does not forget. So even if we have forgotten about such and such thing happening, our bodies, they don't forget. Our bodies will accumulate more and more of this energy and start to show up in more and more internal chaos, dysregulation of the nervous system and the emotions until it explodes to the point where we have to feel it. And this is where we come to the point of starting the process of releasing layers. Now, there's a difference between going through grief work, deep grief work, and going through processing some emotions that have been repressed. So both of them can work the same way, as they have multiple layers. And so with these layers, we have to look at it in a dynamic framework. So our lives are dynamic. Our experiences are dynamic. They interact with various different experiences and programming that we've had all throughout our life. And so when different things happen, different pieces will ask to be released. So you might have the first phase of deep grief work where you are having emotional releases all the time, and that's completely okay, and it's great. Releasing that energy will give you the most clarity and joy, and you will feel so much better. However, this is where people begin to get stuck and get discouraged, because say months or years down the road, they begin to have another trigger and have more layers release. But the reason why this happens is because, one, your psyche and your body can only release so much all at once. It's a protective way of not having you to have to go through all of it at once. Number two is because of the dynamic nature of life. When certain events and traumas overlap all at once, then again, you're going to have an access point to that previous emotion or grief or loss that was not fully processed. So because different points of life intersect, they begin to trigger different areas. So again, more stuff will be revealed. And so this is a really great place to be, though, because a lot of times they get so stored in our bodies and repressed that we actually don't get very good access to let them out. So when you do have events that trigger you or certain situations that bring up that trauma, it's important to allow them to bless you and heal you by releasing them or working on it in a much deeper way. So if you're not able to cry or release in that way, you can also do other things. So we'll get into that in another video. But for right now, we're gonna just focus on the grieving and the crying process, because this is one of the key foundation stones to really truly move forward and feel amazing, joyful, and radiant. Now, it's also really important to remember that when you have deep releases, you often get a time where you get a break, you get a release, you get to feel calm again. And oftentimes in the healing journey, that time period will come to an end where it's now time to work again and have more layers being released for that same traumatic event or different things that were just repressed in different times that really never got a chance to be felt. So this is where life is going to give you a choice. So when these triggers come up, you're going to get the choice on whether or not you're going to start the grieving process, start the feeling process, or keep denying and repressing and shoving those energies down to where they're going to just keep building that shadow energy and cause all different kinds of things like resentment, fears, control issues, anger, selfishness, all of those negative characteristics that we don't like. That's what will begin to build and to take more energy when we don't choose to release and grieve. So this is a beautiful thing, because this is what's going to give you the freedom and the joy and the clarity. When you deny and suppress and avoid and don't want to look at it and just push it off to the side, just nope, not today, not today, not today. I'm going to drink over it, I'm going to smoke over it, I'm going to do all the stuff to not have to feel that. All it's going to do is just build that shadow and build that void deeper and deeper and deeper until finally one day you have to explode and come to a place where finally it's going to have to be felt. So you might as well start to feel it now. So there are techniques and tips that if you would like to work together, we can do together, and I can show you how to start to feel the emotions in a safe way where you can kind of go back and forth between the positive feelings and the negative feelings with the shadow work. So if that is something you would like to do and you'd like to work together, my website is www.akasharise.com, and you can always leave me a comment here if that's what you would like to do as well. You can find out contact information on the website and more about pricing and details. So remember, one of the most important things is to just try to welcome these experiences in, because they are always trying to help us, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it feels horrible and nasty and grimy and awful. If we stop resisting, then it will help us to heal, ascend, and upgrade. We just have to get that energy out of the way so that the true spiritual, vibrational, beautiful, radiant light can come and embody our vessel. So I hope you enjoyed this message, and I will see you next time.